Oh, yeah.
Hi, I'm Sarah Gonzalez. Welcome to the news and why it matters. Glenn, what was the top story for you?
Eric Holder.
Okay.
Eric Holder.
Stu.
State of the Senate. Where are we now and what's going to happen?
Good. Jason.
Hashtag Wall Street again. And actually, I'm going to pull out my phone and tweet it right now before someone at this table, Stu, steals it.
That's a little long. That doesn't really roll off
Wall
the tongue.
Street again.
And Wall Street again is clearly part of tariff again, and you're just trying to steal my thing.
Right.
All right. Well, obviously
This
a lot.
is again gate. That's what's happening here.
A lot to get into. First, want to thank our sponsor, Brick House. So you could either. Does this look tasty to you?
You're not supposed to eat that. I don't know why you guys have this sick fascination with this.
Because it looks
bizarre.
like broccoli and cauliflower.
Why is it bizarre?
If you're listening on the podcast, for some reason, in the middle of the table every day is a big bowl of broccoli and cauliflower.
It's not broccoli and cauliflower.
We must have someone come and replace with fresh.
It is a
right?
no. It's
a what?
You got to make fun of the wall. That's
There's
all
a
moss.
wall. Yeah, I do.
This is moss. That's all this is moss.
Why would there be moss? We're doing a news show. What does moss have to do with this?
We've gone terribly off topic.
We really have.
But I'm going to reel this back in and talk about Brick House. So people don't like to eat their vegetables. It's just kind of a common thing in America.
I don't.
We really don't like to eat our vegetables, especially, yes, I think all the gentlemen sitting at this table.
Right.
But you're in luck because there is Field of Greens, which is real vegetable in powdered form. Something's going on in my earpiece there, guys. So you can take one full scoop. It's a full serving of fruits and vegetables and got you covered.
I will tell you that I thought it was going to be one of these things that I had to plug my nose and drink. You know, just take your vegetables in one shot. It's actually good.
It is good.
It's actually
really good.
It's easy. You can add it to whatever you're having.
Yeah, smoothie, milk, even water. I may have given my son some, even though it doesn't say that you should, but he also liked it too, for what it's worth.
I put it on a table and I put it into lines and I snort it.
Oh, that's a great idea.
They don't recommend that.
No, I put it in a spoon and I think I just take a lighter underneath it and then I inject it in.
Okay. Whatever. I'm sure they're open to all these possibilities.
But you go ahead and do your whole thing with your kids.
BrickHouseBlaze.com and promo code GREENS to save 15%. Yes, I can never remember that. 15% off your first order or text GREENS to 41411. Eric Holder.
Yes.
He is inciting some violence.
No. Not Eric Holder. Not the former Attorney General.
Who was not partisan at all.
No, not the guy who was just, in charge of the National Police Force, the FBI, and the justice system. No, he would never say, when they go low, forget Michelle Obama, we don't go higher, we kick them. Mm-hmm. Followed by, this is who the new Democratic Party is.
And I think we have that clip. Let's play it.
It is time for us as Democrats to be as tough as they are, to be as dedicated as they are, to be as committed as they are. Michelle always says, Michelle Obama, I love her, she and my wife, really tight, which always scares me and Barack. But Michelle always says that, when they go low, we go high. No. When they go low, we kick them.
Fight.
That's what this new Democratic Party is about.
Perfect. Yeah. Okay, so many things disturbing about this. First of all, again, he was our Attorney General. Yeah. He was our Attorney General. Anybody on the left that didn't understand why people on the right might have been a little afraid of an Attorney General that we kept telling you was partisan
and targeting
conservatives, maybe you can understand. So here's the former Attorney General say, yeah, we kick them. And this is what the new Democratic Party is. I just spent all afternoon with Dave Rubin, and we were talking about what's coming and how this is going to shake out. I asked him, what do you think when this thing plays out? Are they, if they don't, he said, I hope that they don't win the House or the Senate. He said, I know that's probably not going to happen, but if they're really kicked in the head here and they lose, that maybe they'll come to their senses. And I really believe they'll double down.
I think they will too.
They will double down.
Well, I mean, that's what happened when Trump was elected.
Yes.
They didn't learn their lesson. They didn't stop and take a look at maybe what they could have done differently. They just doubled down.
They didn't ask themselves, why did this happen? Now, they said they did. They said, we've got to reflect and self-reflect. Why did this happen? Well, I did too. How did this happen? Because you're not listening to half of the country. That's why. You're jamming things down the throats of half of the country, and you are pretending you're superior. One more thing. When he says this, what I think liberals will say is, well, we're just taking it from Trump. Remember, when Trump was doing it, when he first came on the scene, I said, wait, we don't want to do that. Well, they're doing it with Obama and, Media Matters and everything else. May I ask the entire country, what is your bottom? When is enough enough?
We need an adult in the room. Someone has to finally be the adult in the room.
We do.
So 2 things. I refuse to believe that so the timing on this is interesting. So the day before, Hillary Clinton is talking about an end of civility. She's basically saying the same thing. Exact same thing. I think it's too much of a coincidence that this message is leaking out from all these different sources at exactly the same time. So it just makes me wonder that if there was some meeting with the Democrat, higher ups saying, look, this is our strategy going forward. So and he basically said right then that this is the Democratic Party going forward. And you're exactly right, Glenn, when you said that. I think it's a coordinated, actual strategy that they want to do.
You can't have Keith Ellison as one of your captains and not have this kind of strategy. The people. This is becoming I can't remember what the ocracy is, where it's a country run by the worst people. And that's what that's the kind of ocracy we are. Do you remember what I'm talking about? Yeah, cacocracy. Cacocracy?
Kleptocracy?
No. I think it's cacocracy.
Ecostocracy.
Something.
That is
Anyway,
like I'll never remember.
It is, what it means is, the good people will no longer run. The good people don't do it. It's the worst people of society. And they're the ones that are in charge. And we are becoming that, both left and right.
With this strategy, put it in terms of, I always go back into history. Think about revolutions, basically when you've had mob rule. Think about every other time when there's been a revolution based off of mob rule like this, when it's gone nasty like this. Think about the Bolshevik Revolution. Think about Mao. Think about the French Revolution. Basically every revolution except for the American Revolution, how this has worked out. So first you round up the mob, and again, it's happened in every single one, round up the mob, get everybody crazy, get everybody directed at someone, but then eventually it turns back, they eat themselves. It's a short step from there before they start killing. Only after that, then they start killing themselves. So if they think that they're like, hey, this is a great strategy, don't be too high on yourself with this, because you got to watch your back. The moment, let's say you win, let's say you do, the people that you think are your allies right now will be after you very soon after.
Well, what gets me about this is that this is coming from the same group of people who want to keep Ben Shapiro off of a college campus because his speech incites violence.
Well, he's a dangerous guy.
He's so dangerous for standing there and speaking scientific facts, and somehow that is inciting violence. But you've got Democrats, and I know he didn't literally mean kick them. Right. However, I don't think he meant physically kick them.
Hang on just a second.
You think he did?
No, wait a minute. Stu, have you, because we've talked about this over and over, my radio program, do you know anyone who has given the other side more benefit of the doubt than us?
No.
I give them benefit of the doubt every time I say, wait a minute, that is a phrase, let's not believe the worst. At what point do we see the actions of the left, the words like Maxine Waters, coupled with their words about the Tea Party, about how words inspire violence, how much more do you see when people are forming mobs in the streets and they are intimidating people in restaurants, pounding on the doors, 400 arrested? how much more do we give them before we say, they know exactly what they're doing?
They absolutely do. We cannot give them the benefit of the doubt
Yeah.
on this because Cory Booker,
think so.
right after Kavanaugh, Cory Booker was telling people to go up in people's faces.
I guess I should
four or five.
What I should say. So what I should say is, I feel like he did know what he was doing when he said that. He knew that it would, it would make them angry. It would make them want to do that. But he said it in a way that he could claim.
Right.
Yes, Michael Reckenwald.
I didn't really mean
do you remember
this.
did you guys hear the Michael Reckenwald interview I did on podcast? This is a guy who he was a communist. He was writing the white papers for communist organizations 2 years ago. He's lived it his whole life. He made it very, very clear. They will kill you. They will kill people. He said, in those circles, he said, we used to joke about it all the time. He said, but many of them are not joking. They would say, oh, if we could just kill this group of people, if we could just kill these people. I'm sorry. If you are in a group that says, oh, if we could just kill these people, and that's kind of a running joke, you are in the wrong space. And I think there are people, now whether he is or not, but I'm sure he's been around people who joke like that, if Michael is correct. When somebody starts to talk violence, you have to take them at their word. You have to, or you're in trouble.
This goes back to sort of a decision point the Democrats had that you brought up a minute ago. They lost to Trump, and you said that they didn't ask the question of what happened. I think they did, and this was just their answer. Their answer was we didn't do enough of that. We didn't do enough of yelling at people. We didn't get enough of. They
didn't do an honest search.
I think this was their honest search. I think they came up with the answer. We need to rough the other side up.
Okay,
we need to do. We see what Trump did. He was out in front of people saying, "Punch him in the face," as these protesters as they're walking off. These guys need a beating. We need to be more like that. We need to be ruthless. This is their idea of we need to now be more ruthless after Kavanaugh. This is what they've internalized, and I think the incentives.
They found what they wanted to find.
Yes.
That's not an honest search. That's not an honest search.
I guess, yeah. I mean, I think I've seen, we said this before, conservatives say this sometimes, right? Like we get frustrated when we lose elections. The GOP did their autopsy after 2012, and they said what we need to do is we need to be more moderate, we need to embrace immigration, we need to do all these things. And we were like, this is not what you need. You need to go the other direction and be more principled and constitutional and conservative. And that really neither one of those really took, we didn't go the Jeb direction or the constitutional direction, really, when it came down to it. But I mean, you can understand a leftist saying, like, I don't like, they're attacking us and we're trying to be the we go high people, and that's not what we need. It's an outright rejection of the BS stuff that the Obamas used to say. They go low, we go high, which was never true, but it's an outright overt rejection of that world. And you could see today, Michelle Obama came back and tried to say, well, no, we never use that sort of terminology. We should never go down these violent roads. That's not the right direction. But I mean, I think, now look, I don't have this high opinion of the Obamas by any means, or the way that they did their business. But I think the modern Democratic Party, this party that he's describing, this new Democratic Party, is overtly rejecting even the appearance of civility. And that, I think, is at some level new.
That is new. Barack Obama, for you say everything you want, he still was at least arm's distant from this kind of stuff. So there was plausible deniability. Yeah. There's no deniable plausibility here. They don't mind having their pictures taken in Louis Farrakhan's mosque, where he's giving horrible speeches. They don't mind being heard saying, yeah, we're going to kick them when they're down. This is what's terrifying, that people really need to understand. Jackbooted thugs, for the most part, do not get power quickly. They have to convince enough people to come along with them. And those people slowly slide into it. And I know I'm a religious guy, so a lot of people who aren't may disagree. But I'm sorry. There was significance at the Democratic committee when they were nominating for the last election, and they denied God 3 times. when they had to take 3 votes. I'm sorry, there's just 2. It's too coincidental. It's like, no, guys, try again. No, really, try again. Denying 3 times is significant. I think that's the turning point of now this, what seems rapid, but is actually slow to many people, this slide into tremendous darkness.
What's terrifying to me on this is that you look for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. There was in places like Washington, places like Oregon, there was never a Patriot Prayer before there was Antifa. Yes. That rose up in response. So what they're trying to go against now, what do you think you're creating further on down the line?
Yeah, you have to create something worse than you say Donald Trump is.
Yeah, exactly. That is the future right there.
Right. And
if you
then
think he's that now, who's next?
Right, and then you replace him with somebody worse. What does the right do?
So you're setting up the ultimate populist war.
Yes.
Left versus right. It's actually what Steve Bannon actually prophesied, which is even more scary.
Yes.
Wonderful. Back in a minute.
He's building this all over the world. Steve Bannon, when you look into what's happening in Brazil, his fingerprints are all over. Fingerprints.
Stu, tell us about the Senate.
It's a part of our government. It's located in Washington, D.C. It's got 100 people in it. And
All right.
So control of the Senate is a big deal. Largely, it's one of those things that Republicans have a real fundamental advantage in the Senate this term. It's a lot more Democrats who are available to be picked off. A lot of Democrats in red states are available to be picked off. Not a lot of Republicans defending unfriendly turf. So there's sort of a structural advantage that the Republicans have had going into that. And it's why they've been heavy favorites throughout. There have been periods a few months ago where it looked like maybe it was slipping away and there was actually a chance that the Democrats could win the Senate. About maybe a month or so ago, we did a list of the 10 seats that were sort of in the toss-up area. And of those 10, I believe the Republicans needed to win 3 of those seats to get to 50, which would give them control with Pence. Obviously, as we've seen with things like Obamacare, 50 really isn't enough. I mean, even 52 wasn't enough. You need to get more than that because there's always the Collins, there's always a Flake, there's
At least
always
on our side.
Yeah, and that's right. I mean, the only one they ever had was Manchin, which is the only one who went away on Kavanaugh.
But it might actually. Do you think they go full on nuclear, even if they just picked up, got a 51 to?
But even at 51, you always have a GOP senator who's willing to abandon whatever cause that is, because there's not, they've got a bunch of moderates and people who aren't that concerned with being, with that conservative. So of the 10, they needed to win 3. At that time, the most secure of the 10 was Ted Cruz's seat, in which he was leading by about 3 points. So the other ones, and
that was a good poll.
Yeah.
I mean, their polls were close.
Very close. At some of them, they were behind, I think, in 5 or 6 of them, and up by 0.5, 0.7. Well, since that situation's happened, we've had Kavanaugh, other developments, and the situation has improved greatly for Republicans in the Senate. So let me give you a couple of these races. First of all, we've had 2 races that were pretty much, I think, decided by the Kavanaugh vote. One of which was Joe Manchin. I think Manchin, who is already holding a pretty good advantage in West Virginia, I think locked up his reelection by voting for Kavanaugh. I think, West Virginia wants to vote for Manchin for whatever reason. They were giving him the benefit of the doubt. If he had said no to Kavanaugh, I think that would have really been a legitimate toss-up. I think now that one's going into the Democratic column. Same story, though, for Heidi Heitkamp, who is in North Dakota, a Democrat, running for re-election, has been down in the polls, but could have maybe made a run. when she voted against Kavanaugh, I think that sealed her fate. I think she's done. So I think that's a Republican pickup, I believe, which leaves you with 8. Ted Cruz, they did a poll in the New York Times over the last couple of days. Cruz is now up, it looks like, by 9. Several polls are showing him in the 9 and 10 range as a lead. I think he's going to hold that out. If you give that one to Republicans, now you just need 1. There's 7 left. You only need 1. And I'll give you a nice little target here for the 1, because I think they're going to get more than 1 of the 7. But of the 1, one example here would be Taylor Swift, who came out and said, hey, you know who's really bad is Marsha Blackburn, who's running for Senate in Tennessee. This is a toss-up race. It's been pretty close the whole time. Taylor's came out. You got all those stories about how, oh, well, everyone's registering to vote because Taylor Swift is so influential. Well, they ran a poll, and what they found right now is that Marsha Blackburn is up by 14 points. Wow. Now, it's just one poll. Most of them have been closer than that, but Blackburn's got an advantage there. There's a couple of other races that are, super tight, a couple that, Republicans could also win. I think there's a chance you could see as many as 55 senators for the Republicans. It's probably on the upper end of what's plausible, but could really happen. Look, if the Dow Jones continues to go down by a few hundred points a day, these are all out the window. But if everything kind of stays the same, I think there's a good chance that Republicans hold the Senate and expand their advantage, which will give them a little bit more leeway with the Collins of the world.
How much do you think they could win realistically? What do you think they could end up with?
I think 50, an upper side. They could go above 55. It's theoretically possible. I think 54, 55 is probably their high end. I think
if they had 55, you could get things done, but you're not going to get anything through the House.
Yeah, the problem is they're going to lose the House most likely, and if they do lose the House,
does anybody know parliamentary rules enough? The House has passed a whole bunch of stuff, and it's sitting there waiting for the Senate.
I believe it all expires in the I don't think you can pass something that the last House did, unfortunately. That's going to be if they lose either one of them, you have a stalemate, right? Like you're going to have the Democrats are going to pass Democratic things, Senate's going to reject them. The reason why the Senate is important, first of all, is if you win the House and then lose the Senate, the same situation happens. On the other side is if they win either one of these, they're going to have power to subpoena. So they're going to be able to. They're going to go after. They're going to start investigations on Trump like crazy. They're going to start Kavanaugh. They're going to go into all this stuff.
They haven't already,
right? But they're going to have control, right? Like these have been Republican, controlled things that have gone through this. The other part of it is they probably will impeach if they get the House. If the Democrats were to get, the more senators the Democrats have, the better likelihood of a removal. It's very remote. However, if things got really ugly and you started seeing people, establishment types, bailing on Trump, maybe they could remove him. I think that's 1% or less, but still it's possible. That you want to.
I think it's a 1% with the economy being stable.
Yep.
If the economy took a serious nosedive, I think you're looking at a 50% chance.
Yeah, because there's two parts of the Donald Trump approval rating that are important to look at in my mind. Is he a popular guy, and how's the economy doing? And if you look at it through that lens, you see like Donald Trump's 42 and 43% approval ratings, which are middling, right? They're not great, they're not terrible, they're not George W. Bush approval ratings. But this is with the economy good. If the economy tanks, that approval rating is going to be horrific. And once that happens, everybody will bail on the guy.
You have people like Stephen Moore, who we had on, who's a fiscal conservative, who is not for these policies and an advisor to the president, and says, look, I'm really against it, but they seem to be working. So I'm just kind of going with it. The minute those things start to fall apart, you lose your allies that are actual conservatives, and then you just start losing the people in droves.
All right, back in a minute. See who came out and endorsed Beto.
I should be your senator.
I was just telling the guys that good old O'Rourke here in Texas got
Robert Francis O'Rourke?
Robert
Francis
Yes.
O'Rourke.
He got a ringing endorsement. I believe it was yesterday by Michael Avenatti.
Yes.
So
Thank you, Michael.
that seals the deal for Cruz.
And
I
when
would
you
hope.
say ringing endorsement in Texas, that Michael Avenatti endorsement is a little like getting hit in the head and your ears are ringing. You're like, oh my God.